Right. We know order, order. Will the member wishing to take their seats please come to the table?
I swear by Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to His Majesty King Charles, his heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God.
Sarah Pochin. Welcome to Parliament.
Thank you very much.
As we said,
Well, there you go, the swearing-in process. Yes, the first female addition to the roster of Reform UK MPs. I am always reminded of Clive Lewis. Remember when he refused to read the right words or say the right words and he had to do it again?
You had to do it again because you're not an MP unless you can affirm. You don't have to swear by Almighty God. You can affirm as well if you're of a less religious bent. Sometimes the Scottish nationalists like to cross their fingers as they swear an oath to the King, but you do have to swear an oath to become an MP, which is why the Irish nationalists, or at least the Sinn Féin variety of them, don't swear that oath, don't take their seats, and therefore that adjusts the majority, the threshold needed for majority each election.
And the second time he did it, I think he got away with saying something like, I wish it weren't the case, or something. Until it changes, I will say this, or whatever.
Right,
anyway, let's go to our political correspondent, Katherine Forster, for some reaction, not to Clive Lewis's swearing in, but to Sarah Pochin's there. Yes, so first female MP for Reform UK. It is now the fifth, would have been sixth if it weren't for Rupert Lowe and everything that happened there. Tell us more, Katherine.
Yes, quite a moment for Reform, I think, because it has looked at times, looking at the pictures of the five of them as was, before Rupert Lowe was exiled, as a bit of a boys' club. So she certainly, along with Andrea Jenkins, who's now become the Mayor of Lincolnshire, counter to that, which I think will be very welcome. Look, there was a media scrum outside Parliament about an hour ago where the Reform MPs came along with Sarah Pochin. They talked to the press. I asked Nigel Farage what his message was to all the MPs inside, and he said, well, enjoy it, because there's not going to be many of you next time around, because we're going to have hundreds of MPs. Going to go further.
I know.
Fast.
I know.
Deliver change.
I know.
What do you make of that? What's your message to all the hundreds of MPs in there that think that you guys are just five and you could blow up at any minute?
Well, I would say, when I heard the Prime Minister saying he was going to go further and faster, I had no idea what he was talking about, and I still haven't. And my message to all the MPs in there is enjoy it, because a lot of you won't be there in 4 years' time.
But you're going to have real power in these councils now. You've made pledges about net zero, about asylum seekers, but isn't a lot of that going to be out of your hands? Will you be able to deliver on this?
Well, look, there are going to be some fights with central government. I've no doubt about that. If they try and impose more of these young men that have crossed the channel, there's going to be an argument. I mean, how can Runcorn put up with any more than 750?
And also, I was up in Runcorn and Helsby on Thursday night and Friday morning when Sarah Pochin won that seat by just 6 votes. I interviewed her then. Let's have a little look at what she had to say.
People are so fed up with the two main parties. They're not the two main parties anymore. Reform is one of the main parties, and this movement of energy is going to carry on across the country. What we've done here in Runcorn and Helsby is made history tonight, overturning that a massive Labour majority, and I think it's a sign that people are fed up with both parties. They feel let down by the Tories, let down by Labour, and the Labour have only been in for 10 months, but they're ready for change, and we are going to provide that party of hope.
Immigration has been one of the big issues here, hasn't it? Can you tell us a bit about that and what else people have been talking about on the doorstep?
Immigration is massive here. Runcorn feels like a dumping ground for illegal immigrants. We've had the Daresbury Hotel, we've got houses of multiple occupancy, so it's a big issue, and people feel unsafe on streets in certain parts of the constituency because of that. So that's definitely something, as you know, very much part of our agenda to tackle that problem.
Well, she said there that Reform are now one of the main parties. Well, not in Parliament. They've only got 5 MPs, but more broadly, they did unbelievably well, didn't they? And they now, we know, took a lot of seats from the Conservatives at the last election, but they just overturned a 15,000 majority in Runcorn and Helsby. That was Labour's 49th safest seat. They then took hundreds of council seats across the country. So it does feel like they've absolutely got the momentum. And in the lobby briefing, I was really struck by the fact that the Prime Minister's press secretary came along to talk to journalists and wanted to make it known that the government were very busy doing all sorts of things to bring about that change. He took a pop at Reform too, said, you know, we're not worried, we're not busy faffing around with flags after the announcement yesterday, of course, that Reform councils would say you can only fly a British flag there. So it does feel like a moment, and I have to say, obviously, the Tories have been worried about Reform for a very long time, but absolutely Labour are very, very worried because they can see the direction of the travel and they know they've got to make people feel better off. No sign of that at the moment.
Thank you very much, Katherine Forster, our political correspondent there. Thank you very much.